Now, Boris Johnson has accused the EU of casting doubt on the Good Friday Agreement over the bloc's considerations last week to invoke Article 16 of the Northern Ireland Protocol. But the British Prime Minister hasn't ruled out making a similar move. The government is under increasing pressure to resolve trade issues building up between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, including shortages of fresh goods. And now British officials have asked the EU for an extension of the grace periods for food checks on goods traded across the Irish Sea. Johnson says he's pushing to solve the trade issues.
It was most regrettable that the EU should seem to cast doubt on the Good Friday Agreement, the principles of the peace process, by seeming to call for a border across the island of Ireland. And I can tell her that we will work to ensure that there are no such borders. We will respect the peace process and indeed no barriers down the Irish Sea, and that the principle of unfettered access across all parts of our United Kingdom is upheld.
And for more on this story, we have our correspondent in London, Tig Enright, and our political editor in Brussels, Darren McCaffrey. Tig, I would like to start with you. Boris Johnson resurrecting this debate about Article 16 at PM's question today. He hasn't said he's going to trigger it, but he's ready to consider it. What exactly does he mean?
Hi, Annalise. Well, I think this is very clearly a threat that if he doesn't get his way or satisfaction from the talks with the European Union, that he has this nuclear option, and he suggests he's ready to go with it. And this was echoed in a phone call today that he had with the Northern Ireland First Minister, Arlene Foster. A bit of a game of she said, he said here. According to her readout of the call, Boris Johnson said he was prepared to trigger Article 16 if there was no satisfactory outcome to these talks by March. There wasn't such provocative language in Downing Street's own readout of that conversation, but neither would they confirm nor deny the quotes attributed to them by Arlene Foster. So what does Article 16 look like from the UK's perspective? Well, unlike the EU threat last Friday, backed down upon to impose a vaccine border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, from the UK's perspective, this would be perhaps about reducing or even eliminating those border checks on goods moving between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, that so-called Irish Sea border. And this would therefore throw the ball very much across to the EU if followed through upon as to whether they would then erect that border across the island of Ireland between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which was very much at the heart of all those torturous Brexit negotiations.
Now, Darren, the UK's Minister for Cabinet Office, Michael Gove, wrote a 4-page letter to the EU's Commission Vice President, Maros Sefcovic, describing the EU's move on Friday night as in a, quote, a grave error. Both men are meeting to discuss the impasse as we speak. What can we expect from this meeting?
Well, clearly both sides are trying to see if they can come up with a compromise on this Article 16 process. It is only been in place for, just over a month's time, but clearly there are problems with it, and that's why Michael Gove, as you say in that letter, has set out 6 areas that he would like to see changed over the coming weeks, not least of all increasing that grace period for goods, some of those goods travelling from Great Britain into Northern Ireland, so that they will not be seeing shortages of goods in supermarkets in Northern Ireland, which they have been for the last couple of weeks. It also boils down to chilled meats crossing across that border, also about pets not having to have certificates when they go from one part of the United Kingdom essentially to another. In many ways, this is all kind of finite detail. It's all quite technical. It's all quite legalistic. It's all, you know, in many ways not really a big issue logistically in terms of the overall economies of Great Britain and Ireland. But clearly there's a big political element to this as well. And that is one of the things that Michael Gove is reminding the EU of today, is the sensitivities about this issue. They always knew that by moving essentially the border, the customs border from the European Union from a Northern Ireland perspective, where it is with the rest of Ireland, to one that's inside the UK, would end up antagonising one community, the more pro-unionist loyalist community in Northern Ireland. That now seems to have happened, and that's why Michael Gove is calling not just for a technical solution to the Article 16 process, but also a political one as well.
And Johnson says it's up to the EU to resolve outstanding problems with protocol implementation, and that his priority is the stability of the union, which he describes as unshakable. How much pressure is the British Prime Minister under over this? And Darren, is the EU under pressure too?
You know, Annalise, there's many ways of considering the pressure that Boris Johnson is under. I wouldn't say it is insurmountable. You know, he's not beholden to Northern Irish Unionists in the DUP party, Arlene Foster's party, in the way that his predecessor Theresa May was. She needed them for her majority. Boris Johnson does not. Certainly, the concerns of Northern Irish Unionists do resonate with plenty of people within Boris Johnson's support base. Equally, there are plenty of people within that support base who don't give two hoots about what happens to Northern Ireland, and they're more interested in taking any opportunity to bash Brussels. You know, the issues with empty shelves in Northern Irish supermarkets, certainly they are a Brexit embarrassment. So too, though, are the many issues being experienced by British fishermen who are finding their ability to export to the continent very difficult, and they aren't getting the same audience that Arlene Foster is. You know, Boris Johnson also talking about that unshakable commitment to the Union. Well, the clear and present danger to the Union is coming from Scottish nationalists, it's not coming from Northern Ireland. But the pressure, I think, comes from the opportunity. I mean, cast your mind back to last Friday night, and most of us could not believe that it was Brussels talking about introducing this so-called vaccine border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. That lit the torch, and Boris Johnson, I think, is simply running with it, and now it's up to the EU to do what it can to extinguish it.
And that's why, in many ways, Annalise, the EU is under more pressure than the UK government on this, because, as Tiger's rightly pointed out, it was them that started this latest Brexit crisis in many regards by saying that they may well have invoked Article 16 last Friday. Now, there was a massive screeching U-turn, wasn't there, when they said that they had admitted they'd made a mistake. But in doing so, they clearly have emboldened those unionist forces in Northern Ireland. And the EU will have to compromise in order to find a solution to all of this. The question is, what if they don't? And that's where politics comes in to play here, because there is a thought process that by Britain now applying the pressure to Brussels by coming up with this list of 6 demands that if things don't change, then the UK government could trigger Article 16. That means then the EU's ability to criticise that, well, that's somewhat muted considering they were considering doing the same thing less than a week ago. So I think the EU will now need to calculate whether they will have to concede ground to the British government, to unionists in Northern Ireland on this very process when it comes to the details of the arrangements of that Irish sea border, or if they don't, will they then face the fact that the UK will trigger Article 16 and that in the end they can't really be terribly critical considering they were about to do exactly the same thing.